Right, but we only talk about that 10th part, and then when you go to the New Testament, because the Old Testament talk about the tithe and it talk about the offerings, and offerings for the most part was often, it was based upon a specific requirement or need, and so therefore the people gave offerings according to what was placed on their heart. Because the tithe was commanded, it was almost implied and understood that you were going to give a tenth. But then now to give above that tenth, that was another principle. So, go ahead, brother. Look like I may not be scratching the right edge.
You are scratching the right. What I'm saying is that once an individual comes to understand to be in the body of God, that has to be taught. So there should be no waiver for them to not to tithe. Do you understand what I say? If they ain't taught right and they don't believe it, then there is an issue for them about being in the kingdom of God.
And that's true, but I can guarantee you, most folks have been taught right. They just don't do it. I mean, I don't know, very, very few churches ever, have never talked about tithing and offering. I mean, because that's how a church sustains itself. That's how churches, get, you just don't get there with selling cookies and candy. If people don't give to make it happen, it don't happen. So people have to be taught. They have to be encouraged. But we can teach that. But the statistics say, and this is just from statistical data that's been taken by Barna Institute and some of those folks who study church giving, on average, 10% of most members of a church will tithe. Regardless of what the pastor teaches, whatever, 10%. Now, a lot of people give, and some people consider just because I give a portion of my income, that's a tithe. A biblical definition of tithe is a tenth part. So that's something that God created to establish all of us to be equal, because a tenth part is a tenth part whether you make $1,000 or whether you make $10. And so because people don't tithe, then the emphasis goes to the part where we want to give as we're given voluntarily. So therefore, I teach most people is that when it comes to giving, your giving ought to be above your tithe. Amen. Not in place of your tithe. But now to be a church member and to be an effective church member, we can't legislate and make folk give, even though we believe it's a godly principle. Because folk that's one of the last frontiers when it comes to people giving, because of various reasons: bad teaching, a lack of trust, don't believe that they can make it, off of 90% if I give 10%. And it just depends, a lot of reasons. But we don't shy away from it. We always want to teach it, but it's hard to legislate it. Now, I have seen in certain churches and heard in leadership where preachers do I mean, if you're going to be in leadership, you will tithe. If you don't tithe, you get sit down.
Amen.
Now, I've seen it operate like that and been a part of church where pastors or bishops or whatever that leader was said, hey, if you're going to be in leadership, you will tithe.
But when you do that, then you're being more religious.
When you do that, are you being more religious?
When you're demanding.
Well, I mean, that's how that person in the house, I mean, they feel like God demanded it. And so I'm just saying, if you're going to serve in this church, you will tithe. And then you don't have to serve. That's not here now, because we don't check your records, and because I don't want nobody to leave here saying, well, you joined Strive. Because usually the time people thought that, well, you go to Strive and they're going to ask you for your pay stub. And I know that used to be said a long time ago about we was a baby church, man. But I ain't never asked nobody for no pay stub. Yeah, you got to show your pay stub when you join that church, because then they're going to levy on you and tell you this is what your tithe is. Go ahead, brother.
Isn't that being a religious?
I would say that's maybe being legalistic and dogmatic in that approach. But I'm pretty sure, if we looked at it from how God ordained under the law, I'm pretty sure, the priest probably demanded those folks to bring that 10%. I mean, but I'm not saying right or wrong. You want folks to give freely, but you got to encourage them. But I don't believe in coercing people to give. Amen. I mean, that's why I teach it. That's why I'm not bashful on Sunday about reading it and talking about it and not sugarcoating and going around it. You know, people ask all kinds of questions. You know, do I gross tithe on my gross or my net? Do I, you know, da-da-da. And man, the only reason you got all that is because the government don't trust you.
Pastor.
I mean, the government, if the government trusts you, you wouldn't have nothing but your gross. But because they know you may keep some of it, they take theirs first.
But Pastor, I just want everybody to know, since striving started, you taught on tithe and offering, but you've never, from the beginning, you always said, one time y'all, it was really bad, because like, you know, we have visitors, and he would say, we're not going to wash no sinners' cars, we're not selling no chicken or fried chicken or fish dinners, we're going to get the money, what we need through tithes and offering. And my thing is, you know that's his beliefs. You opt to sit under it. If he believe in tithe, if you selected for membership or any duties in this church, to me, pastor shouldn't have to come after you and say, but he's not going to do it, but he shouldn't have to come after you and say, are you tithing? That shouldn't even be asked. To me, if you don't believe in that, then don't accept positions. That's all I got to say. And he didn't tell me to say that.
I mean, and again, I'm glad.
But
I wouldn't.
That's his beliefs. He does that. This church does a lot of things in the community, and you have to have money coming in to be able to do what we do. That's what I'm saying. And
yeah.
It shouldn't be like he shouldn't have to look at the records like, oh, this one is a leader and this one is one of my ministers or whatever, and they're not tithing. No, it shouldn't even come down to that. That's all I'm saying.
And again, you know, I think this is a touchy subject because in a lot of times people have had their tithe abused or their building fund money abused, been brought up in a church where grandmama been putting in the building fund for 20 years, and then the building never got built, and then when, you know, grandmama asked for the money, it was gone. And so, you know, that's why after we built this building, even though we have it on envelope, we don't talk about building fund in this church. You know, after we got the building built, we stopped talking about that and just with tithe and offering. Now, if we're in the process of building project and we want to pledge and stuff like that, that's different. But we don't talk about that because I know if you start talking about buildings, you got to build something. People got to see some dirt being moved and some walls going up, and then they'll continue to give. But you can't just take their money and don't build nothing. So my thing has always been, if you got a purpose that you're going to ask people to give for, especially if you're going to ask them to give above the tithe, then you got to have something you're going to show for it, not just that you're collecting more money and you can't give an account for it. Now, one thing here at Striving we do, if you come to our business meeting, we account for your money. We'll show you the numbers and you can see it. Now, a lot of churches take your money and don't show you nothing.
That's the truth.
And then when you ask them about it, they get mad. But it's your money.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't have a problem, you know, having a business meeting and show you how they break it out. Now, I'm not saying if a church got a salary where the staff get paid, they shouldn't have to put every individual's pay up there. But it ought to be a block to say, hey, this is how much percentage we pay for salaries, just what we do there. But some people don't even know in their church who get paid. And they're scared to ask. And so when it comes to what we're talking about here as a functioning member, giving is a part of that, part of being that functioning member. And I wanted to teach us the basics is the 10th. Yeah. Everybody start off there. That's even. But we ought to be shooting to get to the point where we can give above the 10th. And it ought to be because God placed it on our heart.
Yes.
And so with that said, it's important for you to understand that going back to what I said about the percentages. Now, in most churches, that 10% number holds true. You know, just like we're going to see at the end of this chapter, I won't read it, it's already proven that no matter how big your church roll is, normally on any given Sunday, you ain't going to get but a third of your folks at church. On any given Sunday, about a third. You may be doing good if you get, 40%, but normally you're going to get about a third of your folks at church. So in that, and I've seen that play out here Striving. If we have on the roll, we got 600 folks, okay, on any given Sunday, it's going to be a little over 200 some folks here. Very seldom, even on C&E, are we going to see all 700 folks that's on our roster. However many we got on there now, 600 something. But in those people's mind, because I hadn't turned in my membership card, I'm still a member. So the question would be, are they functioning? And so, you know, since y'all brought up tithe, you know, if I didn't think y'all were scared, I would just ask y'all straight up in Bible study, how many of y'all are tithers? And that's raise your hand. You know, I mean true tithing. I ain't talking about hoping. I'm talking about when you divide your income at 10%, you know, that 10. How many are true tithers? Okay. So you can see this is good for the Bible study group. You know, that's good because the majority of y'all that are here are true tithers. And so I say that to say this, not to put nobody to shame. So when you check that box on Sunday, don't check the top box if you ain't giving a 10. I'm just teaching now. We teaching, so some of y'all, I don't believe he's standing there like he's going to insult us. Like, I'm just trying to teach. I'm just trying to teach. Because that top box have a little 10% next to it. So if you ain't giving the 10%, you're supposed to put your number against the second box. Offering.
Amen.
Now, when we put it into the system, you're going to get credit for whatever you give at the end of the year. It's going to be one statement coming back to you. So we're going to give you credit for whatever you give. But biblically, tithing is 10%.
Amen.
And I know a lot of times now churches are saying, okay, that's the Old Testament, so should we tithe in the New Testament and all that? And the answer is yes. I mean, when Jesus confronted the Pharisees, you know, he didn't tell them to stop tithing. He just told them, don't forget the weightier things of the law. They was tithing all the way down to mints and herbs. But then they wasn't loving nobody. So he never told them to stop tithing. In fact, if you even look at the account when he dealt with the woman who gave her last 2 mites, I mean, in reality, she gave more than a tithe. So if he had a problem, he should have told her, keep it. I don't want you to give that. That's your whole day's earning. But he honored her and said, hey, these other folk giving out their abundance. Pastor Boulder, he ain't even heard. So when he give a number like that, he got more in the bank. But when you give a number like that, that's your day's earning. So in reality, your gift is greater than his. Yeah. And so I think that if you're going to be a functioning member, you ought to be giving to support your church. Amen. As well as if you can sing, if you can usher, if you can cook. Whatever the Lord has blessed you to be able to do, you ought to do it. Now, this wasn't supposed to be about the tithe, but since y'all asked the question, we just supposed to just talk. Adrian, did I see your hand? I don't want to move on. I want you to get a mic because this is open discussion now, and I'm just flowing. However y'all flow, I'm going to just talk to it and try to, stay on this functioning member.
I had a lot of things to say, so I forgot now, but
I remember what I want to say.
Okay.
But the first thing, something that Brother Herb said, when he said that, I don't know, is it religious to call out someone that's not tithing, or the people that are not tithing, or is it demanding or something like that? I think, Pastor teaches on it. I think people need to be taught, and then it's free will. And I think if you start calling out people who don't tithe, you gotta call out the liar and the cheater and the glutton. You know what I mean? We're not gonna start calling out, naming sins and putting up a bulletin, this person is this, or this person is from that. But to teach on it and then let people either do what they know is right or not,
And that's true. And since you're on that, let me just say, when I grew up in the church now, they ain't call you out, they just printed it every month. They ain't call you out. They just say, every month they'll print on a wall and you can go look at it, who gave what. They weren't calling you out, but they were shaming you. And when I used to look at that list, some of the folk that were the biggest deacons in the church weren't giving nothing. And you used to say, how in the world Deke sit up there at the third seat from the left, he opened up with prayer every week, he ain't give a $10 this month. They taught it, but they ain't stay teach it hard because they ain't think folk would do it. But still, why print it if, you just trying to embarrass folk to see, everybody see, get the letter saying these are all the folk that gave us? Yes. Why don't you get a mic?
First time tithing was something that people look at it in a very negative way, It used to be about the preachers, them living good and eating well, while the other ones don't get none. So tithing wasn't something spoke of in a positive way, So that's why a lot of people need to know why it's important to do this, because I was listening to a preacher and he said, when you tithe, it's not for God or the church, it's for you, because he wants to bless you. But if you don't do what you have to do, it's hard for him to bless you in that way. Tithing is not about just giving the money. Your blessing is not getting back money either. It's about your health, the lifestyle you live. It's so much more than just giving tithe for a church. It's for you.
And I agree with you, but when you're talking to a person who think naturally, that logic to the natural mind don't make no sense. Amen. Because people can do simple math and they say, I'm supposed to be able to live better on 90% than I can on 98% or 100%. So when you use logic in the natural, that's why when you talk to people who don't go to church or they're not saved or they go to church and don't tithe, they'll tell you, hey, you crazy. I don't believe you give 10% of your money to the church. Yeah. And God blesses me for being a tither. Now, there are some people, they ought to tithe, but they just, for whatever reason, they got it, they just won't give it. Okay, let me repeat what you're saying because they can't hear you online. Part of the problem is that in the old days, people did not trust church folk with their money because we didn't do a good job of keeping books. We couldn't account for the money. We kept it in cigar boxes and in the head deacon's house, and it never hit the bank. I done been in churches where you preach and they pay you right out the money before they even count it. And I'm saying, how could y'all do that? You got to count this first and put it in the bank. No, we the deacons, we run this around here like this. This is how we do this. Okay, so have a good day and go buy your wife some lunch. Okay, thank you. That's my honorary. That's how y'all want to do it. I ain't got no problem with it. But I've always made a principle here in Striving. Every penny that's going to leave the church is going to be with a check, something we can track. That's why we don't keep no petty cash fund in this church. And even when it comes to our offerings, that's why we give out envelopes. We don't want our ushers making change. Amen. Amen. I mean, you know, man, come on, man. You know it's tithes and offering time. You don't have to, give a $5 to give me 4 ones back. You'll confuse our ushers. I'm just telling you. If you was to do that here in Striving, our ushers would not know what to do. Because they have not been brought up making change. We put our tithe and offering in an envelope, and that envelope is sealed, and once it's sealed, it can't be opened by no usher to make you some change. So that's why if giving is a part of worship, before you leave home or before you get here, stop by the gas station and get you some change for your $5. Amen. But I know all of y'all above $5 giving. And I can say that because Striving, y'all a good giving church. And the last time I checked when I was keeping up with stuff like that on a regular basis, about 30% of our members are tithers. Amen. I can't prove that, but just looking at certain things, say, yeah, it looks like that. So we're above the normal average when it comes to that. But I think that is because, one, we try to be transparent. From day one, we've always tried to print and show you every week what comes in. And until the sheriff came in here a year and a half ago and told us to stop putting it in the bulletin on a regular basis, we used to give that out in the bulletin. Every week you could see it. But he said now, you know, criminals keep up with what goes on in churches. And so, you know, we just show you that one slide, and if you want the numbers, you just have to write them down. But we don't put it in the bulletin no more. So, but in addition to that, beyond the tithe, I don't even care about the tithe, you know, because like I said, we're not begging. I just want to know, you know, are you ushering if you can usher? Are you in the sound booth if you can be in the sound booth? I mean, on Fellowship Sunday, when they say, hey, I need somebody to help back there, it's going to be over 200 folks in here on Sunday. And they're going to need somebody to help serve all that macaroni and all that stuff like that. But if you hear that, I done paid my $10, I want to be served. I'm going to make this announcement at the end of the service, so y'all hear it first. This is not Golden Corral. This is not all you can eat for your $10 and your 5 children. Because if I don't say that, somebody's going to go back there and try to eat everything on one plate, and they're going to be all ugly coming out of there with stuff dripping all over the floor when they say, hey, look, let everybody go through and eat, and then come back and get seconds. Now, that's going to seem harsh to some people, but I'm telling y'all here first, because if I don't say that, there are going to be some people that's going to frustrate the people that's serving back there when they're going to see the plate running over with peas dripping off. Can you put another piece on top of that? No, man. Go have a seat. Eat that and come back. We shouldn't have to say that. No. You're a functioning church member. So tell your friends, don't come ask for no to-go plate until everybody done been served. Now, y'all know here at Striving, we don't try to keep food once we cook it. I don't have no problem giving you what we got. But I just don't want people who think that lack mentality that we ain't going to have enough for you. That I got to get all mine up front because it may not be. No. Look, we'll go and buy something so that everybody's going to have something on the spur of the moment. See, I had to say that to y'all because y'all get that word out. So on Sunday, you may have to tap one of your brothers and say, hey, look, Pastor said. Come back for seconds. Don't try to get it all on the first time. They're going to have multiple meats back there. You don't need to try to get them all the first time around. Because you're a good functioning church member. You're looking out for your brother or your sister who's behind you in the line. Okay. Sister, we need to start reading, man. I don't talk too much here.
I just want to say one thing. Could I say that?
Go ahead.
You was talking a few minutes ago how it was a long time ago. I remember I was a child, and we had church on the second and fourth Sunday. And we would have a usher come out the church around to the houses on this Sunday. We have church to take money up, you know, what you're going to pay in church because, you know, people then didn't have a lot of money. So when they get to church, they will read your name and what you gave off. We have come a long way because I know these days we couldn't take that.
No, we couldn't. Y'all
and when they pass the basket around, like if I pass it to Elaine and I need some change, they got the change out the basket while it was going down the aisle. We did not know how much they put in, neither how much they take out. But that's the way it was then, you know.
That's way back when.
Oh, yes.
I remember those days. And see, let me say this. For some of y'all that don't know that was brought up back then, you wonder why they do stuff like that. Churches used to consider that as paying dues. Yes. So you go around, because most of those churches were small country churches, and they all had cemeteries in the back of them. And you paid your dues to make sure that when one of your family members died, it wasn't going to be no stuff where they're going to get buried at. Because I've been paying my dues. Now we don't bury our folk behind the churches now in the city. You go get the plot somewhere else. But that was just the way it was done back then. And so that's a good point, Sister Thelma. For her.
So we can move on. You answered my question, Pastor. To let you know that it's striving for perfection. It's being a member in the church. We do tithe. There's biblical tithing. There's purposeful tithing. And so I just wanted to go ahead and end it for you.
Amen.
All right? Amen.
Brother Herb said he's going to put a period.com behind that. The Thompson families are biblical tithers. Go ahead and read on. Go ahead and read on.
But please understand, that type of membership is not biblical membership. That approach to membership is man-made, man-centered, and man-maintained. It is totally contrary to what the Bible teaches. It has no place in our churches. Biblical church membership gives without qualification. Biblical membership views the tithes and offerings as joyous giving. There are no strings attached. Biblical church membership serves and ministers as a natural way of doing things. Biblical church membership is functioning membership. Again, let's return to 1 Corinthians chapter 12 to grasp this concept more fully. When Paul was using the metaphor of the body to speak of the church, he did so for two primary reasons. First, the body is a unified whole. Likewise, the church is to be unified in its mission, purposes, ministries, and activities. Second, the body is not only unified, it is made up of many parts. Think about the parts noted in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 12 through 26. The foot, the hand, the ear, the eye, the nose, at least indirectly by referring to the sense of smell. Each of these parts is supposed to function. The foot is to walk, the hand is to grasp and hold, the ear is to hear, the eye is to see, the nose is to smell. We who are church members are all supposed to function in the church. The concept of an inactive church member is an oxymoron. Biblically, no such church member really exists. Such is the reason we are exhorted to know our gifts and abilities so we can use them best to serve the church for the glory of God. The fact that there is so much diversity in our church is our strength. Everyone has a function. Everyone should be functioning. Everyone should have a role. But we are all different with different gifts and abilities. We will function differently from other members. But if we are true and biblical church members, we will be functioning members. One of the ongoing questions you should ask yourself and God in prayer is, how can I best serve my church? You should never ask yourself if you should be serving your church. If you are a member, you must be a functioning member. Amen. It's just that simple.
Just that simple. And so we won't try to go through the other things that he kind of repeat there in the pledges, but a couple of things there that as he was, again, going back to this analogy of the body and as a unified body. And so, therefore, if you're a part of a ministry, a part of a church, then you're a part of that body. So if you're a part of it and it's unified, you got to have a function. Amen. Now, your function may vary because sometimes age may keep us from being able to function like we did when we were younger, but everybody is supposed to function, you know. And so if the young folk joining church don't see a need to function, then as we get older, then who's going to do those type things? I mean, if we're going to be a church that want to continue to do fellowships or have outreach in the community and do things like that, you know, it's going to take people coming behind us that see themselves as not just joining the church to be served, but I'm joining this church so that I can serve. And now everybody don't function the same way, so it is not trying to get us to believe that pastors trying to say, all y'all got to go now and sign up for every little thing in the church. That drill, that day gone. That was the time when we were a younger church first starting in ministry up on Pelham Road or meeting in the rec center. The task list was not long, so everybody who came through Striving did everything. We did it all. I mean, we went to the nurse home, we all went. We had fellowship, we all came. We all came to study on Sunday nights after service to deacon training. But at that time, you know, we didn't have soccer moms. And we didn't have people going back to school trying to get an education. We just loved church and loved eating and loved fellowshipping. And at that time, they were told, if you're going to be a deacon in the church, you will come to class on Sunday. Now, as the ministry started growing, and we had children's dances and children's choirs and a meal program on Thursday and a food giveaway, and the ministry started growing, and younger people started coming in leadership, they pressed the envelope and pushed it enough till we had to come up with options. So about 4 or 5 years ago, some said, okay, I ain't signing up for all 24 of those tasks. You know, pastor kind of got upset. We got a life. Okay. In my mind, your life runs through the church. But in their mind, hey, you can get either this Wednesday or you're going to get this Sunday, but you ain't getting Monday through Wednesday and Sunday. It ain't happening. So rather than try to make a point and just wear a lease out, and Gene and those who are the faithful old soldiers that go do what they got to do, we said, okay, let the next generation pick what they would like to do. And the stipulation was, whatever you pick, if you only picked 30% that was on the list, or if you picked 50%, or you picked 100%, whatever you picked, you were supposed to be committed to whatever that 30% is, 100%. So if you told me, Pastor, I'm going to do LOD, I'm going to open up service, I'm going to go to nursing home, and these are the only 3 things I'm going to do, then when your name come up for those, I don't need no excuses. Because you say, I'm going to give you 100%, because other than that, you're saying, I'm not going to do all these other things that's on the list, but I'm going to give you that on that 3. And then some of those people, just like the pledge, that's why we ain't doing these pledges in the book here, because some of those people didn't even keep their 30%. Now, when that happened, the folk who doing 70% faithfully saying now we got leaders who ain't doing their 30% faithfully. And they said that's what they were going to do. So it can cause problems in the ministry when people don't carry out their function if they said they're going to do that function.
Pastor, would you be entertaining the idea that if someone is committed to doing something, that there is an end date to it? So like if I step up and say, hey, I want to be an usher, and then it's a 1-year commitment, and then at that point, I can renew it and keep doing it if I choose. But I think, and I can just speak for myself personally, I know, okay, I'm going to do this for a year. No matter what, I'm going to be here, I'm going to do whatever, because there's an end date to it. So after a year, I can, say, and we have a meeting, and okay, everybody. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because sometimes you just kind of want to get involved in something else, but then, or you get a little recluse and decide you don't want to do something because you get roped into it, and then you're doing it for 10 years. So I'm not saying not serving in a church, but you might want to try something different.
And I don't have no problem with that. My thing is, if you're going to commit to something, commit to it. We can say 1 year, and some folk still ain't going to do it by half a year. Now I'm frustrated. Because and so I never wanted to do ministry where you put dates on something, because I always saw that other way, especially with ministers. I know in some churches, pastors put expiration dates on their minister licenses. So that every year, at the end of the year, you got to come across my desk, and if I don't recertify you next year, they're telling you, hey, your license ain't renewed. So when you leave here and try to go somewhere else, and the pastor say, let me see your license, he's going to look down there and see expired, unless you done forged them and white it out and put another date down there. But I say, man, why would I do that? To me, that's about controlling folk. Right. I mean, if they don't want to freely serve, why should I put an expiration date? That's like going to the University of Florida to get your diploma and whatever, and they say, hey, if you don't do this, your diploma got expiration date on it. Mm-hmm. No, I got that degree now. That's right. So I'm open to that, but at the same time, Keisha, what I'm looking for is, and I'm kind of narrow-minded in certain things, I'm just foolish enough to believe when you tell me you're going to do something, you're going to do it. That's right. And if you're only going to do certain things, but now, if a person loves ushering, so I don't know that we need a sign up, say, okay, I'm signed up for duty as an usher for 1 year. Well, if that's your gift and you love doing it, why is it a 1 year tour duty? Amen. Yeah, I mean, just saying that's your gift. Get a mic. Keisha, we've been waiting on you.
She needs to say something. Okay, we're talking about we're all a part of the body of Christ. And in being a part of the body of Christ, Christ does for us continuously, without ceasing, without limitation. There's no time limit on what he does for us. he's consistently doing for us. So how do we need a time limit for what we do?
We're saying that, but there's 20% of the people doing all this work. So what I'm saying is, don't always kill something thinking that it's negative. If I have an 8-year-old who I know next year is going to be involved in whatever, and I'm very good at something, but I can only commit to it for so long. I know if I'm doing it, I'm going to be here consistently for that year, and I'm not saying that you might do it for 10 years. I'm just saying there's some people who will get roped into something or feel like they have to do something, then they feel bad having to give it up or do whatever. And I'm just saying, why? Because we want more people to serve. We want more people to get involved. We want more people to do things. I did children's church, okay? But now I'm in ministerial classes. So my flow has changed. I got a 19-year-old away in college, so I can do more stuff than I did when he was in high school. So I'm just saying that it just helps me commit. It doesn't make me a less committed person. It does not make me less committed to God or what he's done for me or what I'm going to do in the church.
And I think I don't think I would have no argument if people committing that. But like I say, I'm not of the mindset that people put time limits on what they're going to do. You just serve to the Lord, tell you not to. And if you say the Lord done told you to move on, that's between you and God. But I don't want people to come in and think, well, hey, I'm signing up for my, tour of duty as an usher or in the choir. I got a 1-year tour of duty. No. You serve as long as you can until the Lord tell you not to serve. And I would rather you do that than to serve and your heart ain't right. If you're mad because the pastor making me serve and my kid playing soccer now and I miss, no, man, go on to the soccer game.
Pastor, I feel like that happens now. You have kids that are doing sports, and you're committed to do what you can do. That's what you're supposed to commit to what you can do. God may have gifted you to do something that you may not be able to do right now, but you communicate that, and that's what's happening right now to people who have other commitments or family or kids without having a year or a time on whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, that comes back to what the pastor said. If every one of us does something, nobody will be worn out.
Yeah.
We could all help each other. We could piggyback off one another. If I can't do it, I call you and tell you that I can't do it. Could you help out or whatever? That's what we're supposed to be, help each other out. If everybody picked up something and did something in the church, nobody would be stressed to the point that, hey, listen, I got something going on tonight, or I got something going on this week with my kids or whatever. Everybody's doing something. If we're all doing something, the load will be light on all of us.
Amen. And that's what the Bible means. The Bible means when it talks about every joint supplies. There's something that all of us can do. Some can do more than others, just like certain parts of your body can do more than other parts of your body. And so the key thing is to you to genuinely do what you can do. And if you know that's from a genuine heart and that's a truism, then you just do it. And we have to accept that. But what I have a hard time is, I ain't no big fan of folks who make excuses. That dog just don't hunt with me. I never been an excuse type guy. Just tell me you ain't going to do it, but don't hem and haw me and then come on all these excuses. You ain't going to get much sympathy from me right there. So I'd rather you tell me I ain't doing it and be through with it, and let's leave it alone. We still friends. But when you tell me you're going to do something, man, and you ain't got no good reason not to do it, then yeah, I got a problem because your word ought to mean something. So just like Adrian said, if we ain't going to deal with, the fornicator and all these other folk, then you got to deal with the folk who lie too. Because when you tell me you're going to do something and don't do it, that's lying. But we're talking about functioning church members. Sometimes I think we make this too hard when I believe that God places on all of our hearts what we're capable of doing. In your heart of hearts, you know. You can stand here and tell me anything, but in your heart of hearts, you know if you're giving God your best. You know it. You know if you're making an excuse because Junior plays soccer. If you had wanted to do something else, you would have did both of them because you wanted to. It just depends on what you want to do. Brother Herb? And we're going to chapter 2. We at least going to start chapter 2 tonight.
Well, once again, you know, once you commit yourself into the glory of God, commit yourself, you know, once again, God says, you know, if you want to follow me, pick up your cross, dead to yourself. If you come into the ministry, you already know. We talk about the scripture, you know, to the point where God didn't put nothing on you cannot bear. At the same time, you have to also be manager of your life.
Amen.
And God ain't going to put that much on you unless you choose to put that on you. Because a lot of times when you feel like you've been too much, you did it. God didn't do it. You did it. When you get wore out, you did it. Because you didn't do the things that God's telling you to do. And a lot of times I see Christians say, I'm burned out. The only reason I'm burnt out, you did things that you should not be. You was out of line. You didn't do the things that God's told you to do. And I see that so often. I'm burnt out. Well, the reason why you're burnt out, you do too much. Not only you do too much, you did things that God didn't tell you to do. Because God ain't going to put that much on you. And if you're going to do for the ministry, He's going to put you in a place because you got a gift. And when you have a gift, you don't get tired doing the things that God's calling you to do.
You know, I believe that God give us the grace to do the things that He has called us to do. And like Brother Herbert saying, I've never been a big proponent of Christians buying into, you know, the language that I hear a lot of times. Yeah, the Bible don't talk about burnout. That's something that we've heard and picked up and people buy into. The Bible does talk about getting tired and weary. And to me, rest is the solution to that. To monitor my time and rest. Jesus got tired. He got weary. He rested, but he didn't flame out. Amen. So again, that kind of like to me, a Christian in burnout is almost like an oxymoron to me. Brother Ed.
Then I have a question, Pastor. I know many a Christian who's served the church faithfully every time the doors are open, making sure they're there because they want to honor their word and doing everything else. And they feel in their heart they haven't done everything that they can because the Lord still gave them energy. At the same time, they lose their marriage, they lose their children, they lose everything else because they're not dedicating the time to the personal ministry of their home the way they should because they've been guilt-tripped into doing more than what their assigned part should be because people in the church are like, well, you need to be doing more. Who's the one who's supposed to be moderating that? You have to be spiritually mature to know when to exercise that no ministry and say, I'm not doing anymore. I don't care if you don't feel how your feelings are about this. This is between me and the Lord, but you're not going to push me into something just because you're used to doing it the way Mom and them used to do.
And I agree with you, Ed. I mean, I think that people got to know where their heart is, and you shouldn't let nobody put you in no guilt trip. But I'm of this mindset, too. There are a lot of other things that demand your time. Any other organization that you join going to demand your, whether it's the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts, it goes without saying. Y'all know me long enough and heard me long enough to know. They all demand your. So I'm just saying, don't rationalize your time when it comes to them, and then when it comes to God, well, I'm burning out. But when you're a 25-year life member, done paid your dues to that. So I'm the wrong dude to come talking to about where we put our time and our energy and our treasure. Wherever our heart is, that's where our treasure is going to go. It don't bother me because they already hate on me and say I'm hard on groups in any way, but that's just the truth. Just the truth. So I ain't saying don't honor your commitment that you made there because you took an oath, a pledge, and all that. You took a pledge to Jesus too. Amen. So if they wreck your family, don't blame it on. Because Because Ed was saying all these folk who done wrecked their whole household. And I just don't want to buy into the fact that it's only the church that's wrecking folks.
No, Pastor, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I know that there are a lot of people. I know a lot of people, and they serve. I'm talking about they faithfully serve, and they're not involved in nothing else. They've cut ties with everything else. They've even abandoned their children to the point that, yeah, I know you got a game. Yeah, I know you got all this stuff. And their children leave and don't want to have anything to do with the church because every time the doors were open, you expect them to be there, and you're not there to support me. And their children, I'm friends with a lot of these PKs. They hate what has become the church because of what has happened to them because of that demand that's been placed on people's lives. And I know there's been a lot of people over time who said, you know, black folks are leaving going to white churches, you know, because they want to be anonymous and everything else. No, they're just tired of being overtaxed by black people putting demands on them that are unrealistic.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm saying this. People got to be stewards of their own time. You got to be a wise steward of your life, and you can't let folk put you on no guilt trip. That's when you do go join somewhere else. But what I'm trying to say is wherever else you go and put demands on you, I mean, don't always look like the church is the only thing doing that. People made those decisions because they wanted to. I hope a pastor is not guilt-tripping everybody to feel like they got to abandon their children. I mean, that's not biblical. And I don't think that's what he's talking about when he's talking about church function as a church member.
But, Pastor, I do want to say, in Striving's early years, and we were going with the church, and I never forget, my niece told me one day, she said, Mom, she said, I wish we would go back to how we used to be. And I go, how's that? And she goes, you remember we used to take rides, we just get in the car on Sunday evening and go for little family hours and stuff like that. And she said, don't get me wrong, I love Striving and everything, but we need to go back to some family time. And I look at it and I said, you're right. And so we started putting time in for family, but like you say, every Sunday evening we were over there for that training. But you have to find some balance. You really do.
Yeah, I mean, but those were the formative years of Striving. I mean, we were just a baby church getting started, trying to put leadership in place. So that was some sacrifice that had to be made. But after we got that in place, people could make choices because now as the choir started going, everybody didn't want to be deacons no more. Everybody didn't commit to that. But in the formative years, when you forming something, you know, we didn't have nothing but a building and no other activities during the week. We were still doing a meal program, but that was small. We were going to another church to do that. And so all I'm saying is now, you do what the Lord is calling you to do, but do something. You determine that. That's all that he's saying here. Function how the Lord has called you to function. And then if we made bad choices because people put us on a guilt trip, then we need to go back and repent. But now let's not be serious. Some folks love being around Bishop. They love walking next to him because they love that atmosphere, be around the Almighty. They got caught up in the human personality. Because when I'm with him, I'm on the inside. I know what's going on. I got the ins and outs. When everybody come to town, I have to be at the airport to meet them and pick them up. I ain't thinking about my kids now because the bishop got some other big bishop coming, and I want some of it. And you was eating it up. So now don't come and talk about, well, you know about law of my family. Yeah, because you wanted the limelight. I mean, you wanted that glorified flunky job. I'm just being real with y'all since we just Bible study. Because there are people out there now still jockeying to be armor bearers. I hope that's on YouTube. But you know what I saw the other day? You know, I thought it was nice, and I don't know if he meant it or not, but you know, we get a lot of stuff from the Catholic Church. Yeah, the Pope now was pulling back his ring the other day. Folk come up to shake his hand. Everybody wanted to kiss the ring. Yeah, they say the officials of time, you know, they want honor. But look, man, they should have never been kissing no ring. But anyway, let's go to chapter 2 real quick. Oh, I got a hand? chapter 2. What chapter 2? Is there another chapter in this book? We're going to introduce chapter 2. Because we need chapter 2 after this chapter because it says, I will be a unifying church member. Because we need to at least open this so that we can leave here unified tonight because some of y'all may not leave here unified. I'm joking. Yes, ma'am.
Pastor, I just had a question as a new member. So from what I'm hearing, is there any ministries or functions within the church that, you know, because I'm not in anything right now. So is there anything that's lacking or feel like they need members at this time? And how do we advertise that?
Ed, don't stop. Ed, shut up. You a breath of fresh air. I mean, you just don't know. But I don't want you to think that every department in this church is starving for somebody. But what I would like for you to do is to get with Sister Robin, or if you didn't put it on your questionnaire when you joined, identify the things that you got a passion for, you know. And if you haven't, if I don't think you've been have you been to orientation yet? Okay, if you have, then just identify those things and then find your gifting. I mean, find the thing that you like doing first. Don't go to a place where you think we got a need and that ain't your sweet spot. Because, you know, Valerie, I see her sitting next to you. She may recruit you for the sound booth because they need somebody up there, but that's a big learning curve up there. And it's always in the spotlight, in the crosshair. And I don't want a new member up there. Especially when stuff starts squealing like it did on this Sunday. That ain't the right place to be. This is Bible study. We can talk about all the things that goes on in the church because this is what this is about. Church members, a church member here on Sunday probably noticed them squeals. Okay, let's start reading chapter 2 real quick.
I will be a unifying church member. God desires for Christians to get along. In fact, he is emphatic about it. Jesus was clear when he said, by this all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. John chapter 13, verse 35.
Okay, let me read that real quick. John chapter 13, 34 and 5. He says, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. And he says, by this all will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. So how we get along with one another is a big testimony to whether or not Jesus exists in this body. Because if we're always fussing and fighting about something and not getting things done in a godly way, then the chances are the love of God and the love of Christ is not here, and so therefore we will not be a good testimony to the world. Now, we can have disagreement, we can joke, and you know, for various reasons, disagree on things, but after that disagreement is over and we done discussed it and decisions have been made, hey, we just go with it. I mean, you know, and that's what he's going to talk about in the next chapter about preference, is that sometimes as a church member, we have to prefer others above ourselves sometimes. And love helps us to do that, to be able to put others in front of us. And that's something that's hard for all of us to do, to sometimes let somebody else go before us. And even for me, you know, for me, the biggest thing is that because I'm always thinking of striving in the big picture, people have a hard time when they come and ask me something, and I have to play the whole big picture for them when they only want to talk about a little slice of the pie. Well, I got to tell them, hey, that little slice of the pie got 10 other slices that could be impacted by what you asked me to do, and all you're thinking about is your little slice. Keisha, did I see Mike? Your hand? No, we're not. You're doing the question on your own. I mean, he just in the questions, he just go back and want you to read those same scriptures over again because most of the answers to the questions are in those scriptures that's in the chapter. If you did them, that's good. That's a good drill. It's a good drill. Okay, so let's continue to read on.
Did you get that? The world will know if we are Christians or not by the way we who are believers act toward one another. Have you ever been to an ugly business meeting in a church? Do you think that an outsider would have been impressed with the Christian behavior she witnessed?
Okay, start with that. How many of you ever been to an ugly business meeting in a church? Okay, so obviously, that's a true statement. I mean, sometimes church business and church worship is two different things. The same people that will open up the service and sing in the choir, when they get together at business meeting on Monday night, they morph into somebody else. And so as a young Christian, I don't know what made me, because it just made me, once I started going to Sunday school regular, and then I started staying in church the whole service and not leave to go gamble and come back. Once I got committed and was going to be a functioning member of the church, then I started going to the business meeting. And when I started going to the business meeting, I'm saying, my God, they curse. Some of them would come to business with a gun. And they argue about little stuff that you didn't think was no big deal because the senior choir didn't get a vote on what time we were going to change the choir in the order, so now they're mad. And they're willing to hurt somebody because the senior choir didn't get notified that they ain't singing on this fifth Sunday. And so they fought about little things. And then, they fought about money. They did. Argue about it. I tell folks, you come to the meeting and, if you done paid the electric bill, you can't unspend it. Don't. So that's why you got to try to be transparent at meetings so that people can know how the church functions on the money side, on the business side, so that you can make a connection to how that impacts the spiritual side. But when some people don't think that there's a connection, that I don't have to be spiritual when I deal with business, I'm just Larry. No, I'm a Christian handling God's business. And somebody got to be wise stewards to be able to handle God's business and do it in a way that's going to glorify Him. Yes, we may disagree in certain things in business meetings, but one of the things that has helped strive, and I do believe over the years, we've never been what I would call a voting church, where we got to vote on every little thing we want to do. Because I've been in churches where anything they wanted to do, anything, they had to get a vote. Got to get 3/5 of the congregation to go along with this. We just want to let the little kids sing an extra song on Sunday, and you got to get a vote. And I saw that every time somebody lose the vote, they ain't happy. And they go home and call all their friends and sow discord. And then in advance, when they know they voting on something, they call all their friends to stack the vote.
They do. That's true.
Hey, you better be at meeting tonight. Pastor finna put that on the floor. He's going to talk about what we're going to do on Fifth Sunday. He's been trying to kill Fifth Sunday. That's the mass choir Sunday. He talked about let the young adults sing on the Fifth Sunday. We can't let that get voted in. Now, on Fifth Sunday, ain't but 5 of them in the choir. Why not let the 15 kids have Fifth Sunday? Move on. But if they got to vote on that, it's going to be a fight. And so when he talk about a business meeting or a church meeting that can have some arguments going on in it, that's real. Now, I hope that churches have grown out of that now and they're doing a better job, but it's real. Brother Herb?
I've never been in a business meeting that's been like that. But I would say, for my comfort, to be, once again, being on the striving for perfection, I believe my pastor always come to a vision where he's taking us through the business meeting that we have, so there is no need to have a voting decision, because you are leading us to it per se, or where we need to go. And even that, with our business meeting, there is no confliction to a point where we always read 1 Corinthians chapter 1:10.
1 and 10, I always read that for a reason. If y'all have been in any meetings here, Every time we open up a church meeting, I'm going to read 1 Corinthians 1 and 10 to say, hey, we're going to get together on one accord with the same mind, same judgment, so that we can handle God's business. And the intent there is that, hey, I don't mind dissent, but, man, when you're going to form an opinion or an argument about something in church, you got to be able to defend that. It can't just be your feelings and you haven't sit down and thought that thing through 3D. And a lot of times people want to do things, but they don't think it through 3D. And by not doing that, when I sometimes just say, okay, let's do that, and then now next week I hear from another part of the church to say, hey, did you know by putting that on the same day, that's the same day we do this? What you was thinking about? You're right, I wasn't thinking. They just said they wanted to do it on that day, and I didn't think. I got to go deconflict with the whole calendar because this ain't just a once-a-week open up church on Wednesday and Sunday. This church is open every day, something going on in here. And not just for us, the community coming to our church during the week. I mean, we open our doors up to nonprofits who want to have meetings or want to have certain things in here. Like this time, I think the little kids are being here for Head Start soon. The high school want to come in and use our church. And so sometimes we schedule that, and then somebody may have a retirement schedule that same day. And so we have to sit down and make sure that we take care of all those things. And that's why sometimes those meetings are necessary so that you can deconflict that so that somebody don't walk in and want their retirement. And we got the ACT folks in here and the SAT and all that stuff testing. Oh, I didn't know that going in our church. Yeah. Fort Walton Beach been coming here for years. They done narrowed it down now. But it used to be a time used to take up 3 days. All day for the most part. This whole place and upstairs. Testing. So when all those things like that go on in a ministry, striving is not functioning like the church I grew up in. In the church I grew up in, Sunday and Wednesday was it. Had church on Sunday and you had the Bible study on Wednesday, and during the week nobody was there. Wasn't a full service church. But now a lot of churches are full service church, so they're open all during the week. And so when you are, you got to be able to deconflict all these things, because if not, it will cause confusion. And when confusion come in, then that's what make business meetings sometimes can get ugly, because folks feel and get hurt, and they go from there. Okay, let's read on real quick. We're almost done. We're almost done with the time, but not with the book.
Have you ever heard Christians gossip about other Christians? Is that loving one another?
Y'all know that. Stop right there. Now let me say this. I ain't going to talk long on this because y'all know this to be true. If I would have to say in any church that I've ever been in, that is probably the biggest problem I've ever seen. We can't solve this gossiping problem. We just like to talk about stuff, and we don't know how to discern sometimes when it's gossiping, when I'm just passing on helpful information. And so we just need to be mindful that when the language starts to talk about someone in a negative way, or you don't have all the facts and you're saying certain things, I always try to tell people, if what you're about to say, you wouldn't say that to somebody's face, then you probably don't need to say it. But gossip magazines have hooked us. That's why they put them at the checkout counter. You're trying to buy some grits, man. They're trying to sell you a National Enquirer and all that. What that got to do with you checking out? Because they know folks are inquiring minds want to know. Beyonce and what's the name, finna break up. What? I didn't hear that. But let me go read about it. And most of that stuff is just lies. You know, they may be having some issues, but they ain't on the way to the divorce court. I'm just using y'all for an example, Beyonce and Jay-Z. I know y'all got it together now. Y'all just came to mind. I know y'all got it together. Everything's clicking. Y'all on all cylinders. Y'all a model for all of us. Amen. But I'm just telling you, subject to see anything when you check out there. And so if you're a person who like that, guess what? You'll pick up one and be in the church at the same time. And think I'm just reading. No, that's gossip stuff. Go ahead, brother.
But then in the Word, when God gave the 10 commandments, don't be no false witness to your neighbor.
Yeah,
if you say that you are a Christian, and God revealed that, saying that that's a sin, why are you practicing that?
Herb, you'll get no arguments out of me here. I'm just saying, from my experience around church folk, this is an area, and he's going to spend a lot of time next week here talking about the tongue. And if you don't contain that tongue, it can be unruly, and it can start a forest fire. And the reason is that people, I done seen folks turn prayer meetings or prayer time with prayer partners into gossip. Girl, man, we need to lift up Brother Herb in prayer. You know. You heard what happened. Wait a minute. I thought, hey, that's kind of how it starts sometimes. It starts off innocent, like we going spiritual. But I want to pass you on some information about Brother Herb. Just heard. And I say that laughingly, but that's how easy it is for that to start. And when we don't communicate with one another and have those type of relationships where we say, hey, man, I know Brother Herb, that don't sound like him, so I'm going to knock this down right now. Because if I don't knock it down, then I will carry it. I know Brother Herb's. Amen. And so gospel, he just used that as an example, but in a few minutes he's going to prove his case because he's going to list a whole list of bad things we consider bad things. But in that list of bad things, he put gossiping. He made the list. So let's go ahead and read on real quick.
Look at your pastor's email inbox if he'll let you. I bet.
I had to stop right there and say, let me see. But I will be honest. Rarely have I ever gotten an email from any of our members who, just sent me a text or something that they just want to go off on me. I mean, very seldom. I mean, now we got our Facebook page took some hits. There was a lady here that didn't like some things the way we did it, and I did it. And all of a sudden now, we were a cult, we were the devil, and Pastor Bolden is this, that, and other. She rose up bad on Facebook. I mean, I didn't read it because I didn't know it was out there. Now, there's some people who do Pokemon. They wrote us up bad because we were the site, and we went out there and kicked them off our property. So you ain't going to be looking for no demons here, no little devils. You go find that little monster somewhere else. And next thing I know, on the Pokemon site, that church down there, they won't let you. I said, man, it's our property. I mean, we don't want you on our property chasing monsters. But that word, they put us out there, man, so people will put your church on blast. Now, we didn't mean no harm. We just saying that because it caught us by surprise. Why are all these people in our parking lot? You walk out there and you saying, I'm thinking, man, we have been having a revival or something. And you walk in and say, no, y'all one of the sites for Pokemon. And I don't even know how we became one. To this day, somebody put us on there and made us a site. And so every now and then, they still show up in our parking lot, and I just leave them alone because I don't want them to make them go off on us no more, They did that in Community Garden. Yeah, they did? I mean, they went off on us bad. Like we didn't love Jesus or nothing. I mean, they really did because they thought it was rude for a church not to let them have fun on their property. Yeah, that should have been a reach. I should have went out there and told them about Jesus. Man, now. But I'm saying that there are times when people get frustrated, but I will say because we've had a sheep talk box out there, whenever people normally get upset about something striving, they may drop me a note in the sheep talk box. And, there are times people put something in there anonymous. But, I'm like this. If you're gonna throw a stone and you anonymous, then I'm like this. Hey, I ain't taking it serious. Put your name on it and let's deal with it. Now, if it's something that's violating scripture, sin, or something like that, then yeah, okay, I'll look at that. But if just a feeling about something, please, man, I got open door policy. Put your name on it. Let's come talk about it. Don't throw the rock and hide your hand. I ain't losing sleep on no anonymous complainers. Because if you do, man, folk will be complaining. Folk will find anything to complain about. And so I'm just saying, but for the most part, in 23 years, we've been pretty good in that. Our members have not sent me no nasty mail or nothing like that. I very seldom get criticized by certain things I say when I'm preaching. I do pick on folks sometimes, and folks let me know. I done had some folk walk out. I done seen them walk out when I say certain things, sir. I mean, I ain't crazy. I know what's going on. Okay, I done hit a nerve. See ya. Man, I didn't know you were going to be in church today. If I had known you were going to be in church, I wouldn't have changed it no way, but I didn't even know you were going to be here. So when I say stuff up here on Sunday, don't y'all take it personal. Because when I prepare, I don't say, well, man, Mary Ann going to be here Sunday sitting right there. Let me put this bullet in here for her, just for her. Boom. And I don't waste all my time for that bullet for Mary Ann, and she don't even show up Sunday. So that ain't how I prepare messages, so that if I say something, I see somebody out there, and all of a sudden I said that because, no. I say it because a lot of things I say because the Lord give me certain things to say, but there are certain principal things that people who have been here for a while have heard me consistently say them for years. For years. And so when they invite people here, they'll say, this is what my pastor's position is on this. Y'all don't have to get quiet right there. Everybody get real quiet. We through. But for the most part, I have not gotten any hate mail and like that. The church has taken some hits sometimes for little things that people just don't know and don't understand how we operate. Like all new churches, we've been called a cult. I mean, just the way it is. You got folk coming, it's a cult over there. Now, ain't no cult. I mean, if y'all was a cult, I'd be living larger than I'm living now. If it was a cult, I'd be living like a cult leader. Amen. Because I know what cult leaders do. And so my thing is, cult is just short for culture. I'm trying to develop a culture of people who know the Bible, so they can't be taken advantage by people who can hoodwink them and take advantage of them because they're ignorant of what's in the Bible. So that's why I don't have a problem touching all areas of the Bible. I don't cherry pick the Bible and just pick out the part I like and don't like. No, I try to pick the whole Bible. If you notice, we're going to go through a whole lot of scriptures on one topic because I want you to see God's perspective all the way through the Bible so you can have a better understanding. Amen. And if I was just a cult leader, I would just only preach certain messages that get certain results that I was looking for. But I'm a teacher, so that ain't what God called me to do. And I thank God that I never have been greedy, because if I ever had been greedy, I would have got caught up in the movement. I used to go to the churches that taught you how to do the movement. Man, I came this close to wanting to do the money coming to me. Now. I mean, I was sitting in the meeting when they said that, money coming to me now. And when that happened, folks start getting up out their seat, breaking. Man, I said, man, can you imagine that having and striving? This coming Sunday, I can have one of those moments and say, money coming to me now. Brother Herb, come on, bring it on. Herb shouting all the way to the altar, pulling it out, laying it down to his man of God. But y'all done heard me teach against that so much that if I started trying to play games like that, now y'all said, Pastor done lost his mind. Didn't he forget he taught that 5 years ago? We don't play like that here. Now, I don't knock that if that's what folk want to do to get blessed, but I'm just telling you, that passage of scripture wasn't talking about the pastor keeping all the money. It was talking about the poor folks getting the money in Acts when they laid the money at the apostles' feet. It wasn't for the man of God. It was to take care of the poor. So I tell you this, don't lay no money at nobody's feet unless you put it in an envelope with some information about your name and how much, so there will be a record. I'm through. When you lay it down and there's no record of it, there's no accountability. And so if you're dealing with folk that don't report to the IRS like they're supposed to, nobody know what you laid down but the person who putting it in the bag and keeping it. But if they're open, put your money in the envelope, And if you want to lay it down, just make sure your name and everything's on there so there will be a record of your giving and not some anonymous gift that you done gave. And now when you ask, hey, I'm claiming my taxes, can I get credit for that, $100 bill I laid down? Well, I don't show you giving no $100. Well, I laid it at your feet. Yeah, you did. But it was with all them other $100 bills. I can't tell which one was yours. I'm using that as an example, but I'm just telling you, those things happen. And when those things happen, it gives the church a stain. And then we start talking about church membership and things like this, it makes us have to take a deep look at how we do everything in the church. Because the church is being challenged today, all because the world will paint us as being immoral in certain areas, especially when it comes to money. Amen? So next week we're going to really get into the unifying church member. Y'all read that, and if you have some comments that you want to make, because he gives a lot of scriptures in this one, and so it's going to probably take us the whole lesson next week just to get to that part of this particular chapter. Amen? All right then. Announcements. We should have, did the books come in? We do have some more books, so if you don't have a book, you can get one tonight. Tomorrow, meal program, choir practice. Is that it? All right. This week, again, Sunday, the fellowship. So if you're coming, please come and be ready to have a fun time after church. We're about 200 people in here. We already got the tables pre-set up to begin with, but we're probably going to have to put almost 40 tables out if all 210 people show up. So this, I'm going to tell you, this exceeded my expectation. I was glad to say we weren't going to give about 150 folks, but to get almost 230 folks to sign up, that's a lot of folks. That exceeded my expectation. So now when you come, let me be a pastor for a moment. Don't send me no letter. This is fellowship. Don't eat and run. We're going through a lot of stuff to keep you here for at least an extra hour. Don't make me think you just took advantage of a cheap deal. I can only say that because I'm joking with y'all, but I'm serious. And Pastor just saved me $50 a day. Me and my wife go eat it, take us $50 to go eat the Red Lobster. Now I can get a deal. I got $10 for the whole family. Amen. All right, let's stand up, man. Let's stand up. I'm having fun with this book, man. I tell you what, this is a pretty good little book. Got y'all talking about some stuff. Sister Thelma, come on up. We said I don't want to forget that. Let's circle around. Let's kind of do this a little bit different tonight. Sister Adrian, I want you to get some oil. I think we got some right here. We're going to anoint Sister Thelma. Those of you who don't have to rush out, we may spend a few minutes longer in here praying for her, because I think many of us know what it's like to get a bad report or get a report that there's something may be going wrong in your body that it ain't supposed to happen. So let's come on. Let's don't circle up. Let's just try to circle around the altar. Come on. Make it a smaller group, because we want to try to lay hands on her, touch each other, and make a connection. So that's what I'm trying to say. Circle around. We're going to believe that when she goes for whatever appointment she's going to, that the doctor is going to do what he needs to do, and the Holy Spirit is going to do what he needs to do, and God is going to touch her body, going to heal her body. Hallelujah. And we just thank her for being open enough to come to the elders of the church and let them touch and agree with her. Hallelujah.